Is it the intention of government to issue more permits on Molly Beach? As my colleague mentioned, in 2013, 2014, a license was issued by the then government where the person was granted almost 300 square meters for usage. This was never executed and obviously overlooked when the initial 4 rental agreements were issued back in 2019. Therefore, we are currently in discussion with our board ministries and the legal to find out how we can move forward with this, but it seems as if government will be bound to honor this request, as we have received recent communication requesting such. Is it the intention of the ministry to amend the beach policy? Yes, it is our intention to update the beach policy. However, this plan of action is dependent on our internal capacity and priorities. Through you, Madam Chair, I move on to questions posed by MP Bill. How was the decision to approve the development made, and what criteria was considered in the decision-making process? A decision to approve a development, specifically a building permit, is based on an advice to the minister that is made by the Building Permits Department. To make up a final advice, the Permits Department will evaluate the building permit requests, including all documents submitted. In addition, the Permits Department will request a report from the Inspection Department if needed. The Policy Department is also required to advise if this is needed as well. The main policies and legislations that are considered in advising process are the bouw- en woningverordening, the hinderverordening and hinderbesluit, the bouwbesluit, which is the building code, the landsverordening ruimtelijke ontwikkeling, which is the zoning ordinance, and if applicable, the beach policy, the hillside policy. Also, the parking policy. If requested, a rapid assessment or a nature and environmental assessment can be requested, as I mentioned before, to be done and carried out by the Nature Foundation. What is government's plan to ensure that Molly Bay development does not harm the environment or the local community? The Ministry of Romy, through the implementation and or enforcing of the relevant policies and legislation, the beach and parking policy, the building ordinance and code, waste and wastewater ordinance, the hinder ordinance, and also the nature ordinance, or ways and means to protect. Based on Article 28A of the LROP, the ministry can require a civil works permit for activities of profound nature, such as clear cutting and felling of vegetation, large excavation, filling and dredging of water. If the development poses serious and or irreparable threat to nature and environment, the minister can deny the civil works permit, thus denying the activities to be carried out, or add strict conditions to the building permit to minimize the negative impact on the environment. What does the government see for public participation in terms of decision-making for Molly Bay development, and how will the public input be taken into account? All building permits are published in the National Gazette, the Lance Courant. The public has the right to appeal all issued building permits. In the future, a draft zoning plan for the area will be presented in a public hearing, whereby the public will have the opportunity to raise any questions and concerns that they may have. I will add to this point, Madam Chair, based on the point brought forward by MP Bryson earlier. Indeed, on Monday or Tuesday, I believe, we did receive the court verdict where Country St. Martin won. Basically, the EC Sun Resorts that file a court case against Country St. Martin with respect to currently operating business at the Molly Bay. That was thrown out because they did not follow the proper procedures in terms of appealing the building permit at that time. So this is clear-cut evidence where this process is working. We've had other cases where persons appeal, and those are ongoing and are completed with regards to such. So there is opportunity for public to input in every single building permit. One thing I must also note is that back in the days, I cannot remember exactly, but I believe prior to 2017 or 2018, the building permits were not published. How will the government ensure that Molly Bay Development Project aligns with the country's long-term sustainable development goals? The SDGs are incorporated into all plans and policies. Developments are then evaluated against these existing plans and policies.
The second for the Minister of Rami, regarding building permits. To my understanding, it was the intention that building permits be issued with a 2-year timeline on executing the permit by the recipient. I just want to know if this has been put in place, and if it has, then why were any 2013, 2014 permits not canceled? And if it has not, then why not? Because I do believe it's not logical to have a permit passed, let's say in the 90s, and then that's used to build a house or rebuild a house in 2023. So just if you could clarify that. And then the first question, I don't know if you've communicated with the ministers as yet. When the development in question that is part of the petition's whole drive was being developed, there was a lot of talk by the then Minister of Théâtre about how the Mulla Bay Boardwalk would be rebuilt. Thus far, not a plank has been laid, so I just wanted to ask if there's an update on the status of that. And I also wanted to ask what was the, I guess, rationale. I understand that maybe the licenses must have been given for water sports or so, but if there was any documentation by the Minister of Théâtre's predecessors as to the rationale for water sports at Mulla Bay. When I was younger, I think some of us in here, maybe, well, MP Duncan or so, maybe remember that there was a young man tragically killed in a jet ski accident at Mulla Bay. There have been several accidents, whether with swimmers or the jet ski drivers themselves. So historically, Mulla Bay has never had water sports for that reason. So that's also my concern, because as the Minister of Rami said, and the Minister of Théâtre, residents are supposed to be able to safely and comfortably use the beach. So I just want to know what rationale was taken up for that by their predecessors.
Madam Chair, the Minister of Rome said that the Ministry of Rome does not issue licenses, and that's true. So then I asked through you, Madam Chair, to the Minister of Théâtre, if, basically the same question, if after the year 2018, if any Minister of Théâtre issued a new license for whatever commercial activity on the location of the Mulla Bay Beach, and if so, which minister did this and which company received said license? And also, when did he request the license? And in light of the same question, a related question to the Ministry of Romi, has that company requested a rental agreement to be on Mulla Bay Beach? And also, another question pertaining to an answer from the Minister of Théâtre to you, Madam Chair, is that a vendor was allegedly overlooked that received permission to change their location, I believe from town to Mulla Bay in 2013 or 14, as per the minister's statement. I would just want to know to you, Madam Chair, which company was that? Which of the vendors was that?
I'd just like to rebut on the clarifications for efficiency purposes. Based on the question posed by MP Gomes with respect to a building permit having a lifespan of 2 years, I've been getting this question a lot. Indeed, that is the case. However, we've seen situations where persons just do not have whether the proper or enough financing to start, and that is not a strict regulation or hard regulation that we impose as a ministry. Historically, it has never been done. However, I do agree with the point where if a building permit is issued over 10 years ago and it's going to be constructed now, we always follow up and we advise developers to update their plans to match the current situation. We've been faced with those things, but those things are really 1 in 50, so to speak, if that is ever the case, and it's handled on a case-by-case basis. And for clarification as well, I did not mention that a building permit was issued back in 2014 or 13, but I mentioned that a license was issued by TIAT with a specific amount of space that should be allocated by the Ministry of Rami. So just to clarify that point, it was not a building permit in this particular situation. And the clarification from, oh, and the second clarification from MP Peterson with respect to rental agreement that was requested in recent years. Indeed, in I think it was 2 years or a year ago, a license was issued by TIAT and a rental agreement was requested by VROMI, but that has not been issued.
Going into the questions that I received, it was told that the petitioners did not receive a response to the objection. That is what I just clarified in the fact that they did indeed send it in. There has been proof of it. I will share that with you. Once I have, hopefully they'll be able to receive their answers. What was the reasoning behind the amendment to the 2012 beach and vending policy signed off by the Minister of Tayat in 2014? Was the public involved in this decision, and otherwise, why would an amendment be made so quickly after the 2012 publication? Is this something we can revisit to stop further development on Mullet Bay? Number three, when these policies change, such as the 2012 beach and vending policy, how is the public informed that there are now more plots or permits available to start a business? During our research, this seems to never have been clearly communicated by the government. The new development, Kalatua, was granted to persons with ties to the government and knowledge about the policy change in 2014. Why was this opportunity not published clearly so other locals could apply and benefit? One of the, just a little side note, one of the ways to protect Mullet Bay for the future is to reverse the amendment or renew it to allow only three establishments the only three establishments that are there and having stricter regulations for their beach chair usage, music volume, and lights at night. Next question, how much do the establishments on Mullet Bay pay in rent to the government for the use of public land or the beach to construct and operate their establishments? When were these prices last revised? If prime public beach is used to allow more businesses, the monthly lease and taxes should appropriately benefit the public.
You have some members of parliament that really, they're part of a party or whatever they are, but they have their opinion. No matter what the role of others within their own party might have played in putting us in some of these situations. Because when I look at this whole situation, it has to start somewhere. Where did the original idea for any restaurant to be granted the permission to operate on Mullet Bay start? Where did this begin? Did it start with a building permit? Did one day someone just say, here's a building permit for me to build something on the beach? Or was there a step before that? I think that would be the rental agreement, am I right? So they must have been granted by someone an agreement to say, here is your allotted amount of land, just to put it in very basic terms. And when you look, and actually, fortunately, this was actually sent to Parliament before. It is on the P drive, the rental agreement. And when you look at the purpose within the rental agreement, because I said, now, maybe this business went outside of the purpose, trying to play devil's advocate. And in the rental agreement, it mentions snack bar, restaurant, water sports, these type of things are mentioned. Okay, so my first question to the Minister of Rami, did you issue these rental agreements?
Mealtime rules. Don't serve yourself first. Do not eat with your mouth open. Don't rest your elbows on the table. Don't make noise when eating. Does not apply when enjoying KFC buckets. When we bucket together, we are as we really are.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emma Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, L.B. Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zakers Gut from Petro Plus gas station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welcalaken Road, Cahill from Welcalaken Road roundabout until the One-Tete Loque roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesta Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Cooper Coy from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Prime Minister, it has come to my attention a lot of persons have been written out of the civil registry. And when they go up, for example, persons showing up for an ID card, they're no longer in the registry and they are asked to provide a host of documents so that they can be re-entered into the system. There are people that allege that they were even threatened that if they do not provide, for example, 6 years of tax returns, they will never get back into the system. Now, they didn't ask to be removed from the system. There one person who told me that they believe that there's some sort of election rigging, number rigging, because to keep the number down so that you don't pass the amount that is required to increase the amount of seats. There are people who are also complaining and receiving letters about losing their passport, their Dutch nationality, because they're now living in the US. These are all concerns raised by people, all of which are taking place since the cleanup of the civil registry. How do you respond to that?
As it relates to civil registry, I have been weekly. I don't say it every day that I'm here, but it's usually a standard on my notes to remind the people of St. Martin that they are going through the process of updating the systems. This is a legal obligation. You must have a correct count of the citizens of St. Martin, and I have implored persons to ensure that your registrations are current, are up to date. In previous elections, we've had many, many, many returned ballots. I can't tell you, not ballots, voting cards. I cannot give you a number, but it is always very alarming because you need your voting card to vote. So in cleaning up the registry is to ensure that registered voters are able to receive the voting card so that they can register, so that they can vote in the district as per our registry. Then you would also have the proper numbers to determine the registration of persons, because it's not only the eligible voters, but your total population registered citizens determines the seats in Parliament. I've asked persons and citizens over and over again to ensure that they come in, that they do that. Not to wait until you get a notice or you go to do something and you find out you're deregistered. If you have moved, it is your responsibility by law to change your address in the civil registry. So this is your obligation as a citizen. The civil registry, after making numerous attempts to contact you, will only assume that you have left the country, and they have a right, based on law, to then deregister you. It doesn't mean you're no longer a belonger or a Dutch citizen. You then have to, if you have not left the island, you rectify it by showing that you've been here all along and give your correct proof of address. And if you have left the island, you re-register. It does not remove your rights. You just re-register. The person's register also impact the pension. So these things all have financial consequences. So let us please debunk that a government agency is doing anything to be less than transparent in preparation for elections. They didn't start this now. This is a process that has been ongoing over the years. But of course, now that we're getting closer to election, you want to make sure that the numbers are as accurate as possible prior to. So again, as it relates to that, civil registry is willing to work with you. You just have to show according to law what is necessary, and there's no need to get annoyed, etc. There's a legal obligation. We're functioning in a lawful society. As it relates to the passport, those are issued via the Dutch Kingdom. This is not a St. Martin law. So the legislation that is in place for the revoking of passports is not within St. Martin's power. I have cases popping up daily, as you say, where after where people come in to get a renewal, you ask for certain information or certain information is required, and then when they go back in, they determine that the manner in which the Dutch citizenship was granted did not follow the proper procedure. It does not mean now you are, let's say, without a nationality. You then have to go over the process, do over something. And if you don't agree with the process, there's the courts as well. I know in certain cases, the Ministry of Justice had to go through a process of expediting residence permits for people who prior to that had Dutch nationality. So I'll allow the minister to elaborate on the steps that her ministry has taken to assist persons who have found themselves in this quagmire. One of the reasons this happens also is because if a child is born of a non-national, it automatically gets the nationality of the mother. Acknowledgement now takes place, in case the general population doesn't know, prior to birth. If fathers acknowledge children prior to birth, they automatically get the father's nationality. But if that is not done, then they have to go through a process of DNA and all kinds of things before that child can get the Dutch nationality. There is a process. So these are laws that are established, and it is clear that we need to do more also to ensure that the population is aware of what is done and that it's not ad hoc. No one is picking on you specific, but if things have been discovered to have been done erroneously in the past, there's a path that needs to be walked to fix it.
So indeed, as the Prime Minister indicated, there were some persons who did experience the matter of their Dutch nationality being revoked, and they did have to go through that process of applying for residency again. And in those peculiar situations, humanitarian was given retroactively to be able to fix where the error occurred. So whilst there are some persons who indeed are subjected to this experience, the support and steps to be able to rectify the situation is in place and is being executed.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
With you, the new Kentaco. A combination that will surprise the most curious palates. Combining the deliciousness of KFC chicken and the practicality of a taco. With a doubly delicious ergonomic shape. Wow! Compatible with all types of bites. New Kentaco. Enjoy a double-breaded chicken breast with our secret recipe. Cheese, lettuce, and tomato. New Kentaco, the innovation that's in everyone's mouth.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
It was just after 9 in the morning when the fire service got a call about a tree on fire and dispatched personnel. Station officer Roger Bourne recalls what happened when they got to the area.
On arrival to the tree fire, we recognized that there was a lifeless body. Apparently, the gentleman was picking bright fruits with a metal rod which came in contact with the high tension wires, causing him to be electrocuted.
The deceased was later identified by police who arrived soon afterwards as 36-year-old Ramon Ronaldo Dawson. Lawmen said his body was found face down with several burns. He was pronounced dead by a medical doctor. The firemen meanwhile had extinguished the tree fire. Also dispatched to the scene was a crew from the Barbados Light and Power Company. Senior Engineering Manager Victor Callender offered this reminder to Barbadians in the wake of the tragic incident.
One of the things people need to be cautious of is when you're picking fruit especially, and you're using metal rods, that's one thing you should avoid. But especially when you see a power line near, and not through the tree, but near the tree. Because metal rods can be very long, and it might actually come in contact with the tree. In which case, then you might get injured, or that might also result in death. So one of the things we like persons to be aware is be aware of your surroundings and ensure that once you want to pick fruit, that there are no power lines near where you're picking those fruits.
Police investigations continue into this unnatural death. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.